Now, it's been 80 years since Thomas the Tank Engine and his friends first appeared in children's books before their runaway success on screen.
To mark the anniversary, a previously unseen episode of the television series, narrated by Ringo Starr, has been brought back to life. Our reporter Graham Satchell has been taking a look.
Never-before-seen footage of the pilot episode of Thomas the Tank Engine. It was filmed in 1983, but only recently discovered in the archive.
One day, Thomas was at the junction when Gordon shuffled in with some trucks.
The unmistakable voice of the original narrator, Ringo Starr.
Phew, remarked Thomas. What a funny smell.
Right from the very beginning, we see Thomas as a slightly cheeky little engine, this time making fun of Gordon, the bigger, stronger tender engine.
Do you know what I think it is? It's ditch water.
Thomas the Tank Engine harked back to a time where politeness was expected, rules had to be followed, and naughtiness normally had consequences. In the pilot episode, Thomas, already having been quite rude, ignores a warning sign with calamitous results.
Stupid old boy, said Thomas. There's no danger, there's no danger. Look out, shouted his driver. Come back. Fire and smoke, said Thomas. I'm sunk.
Sunk indeed. What will happen to him?
Oh dear, he said, I am a silly engine.
It's Thomas. Hello, Thomas.
Thomas and Friends was a hugely popular children's programme. More than 500 episodes were made, airing in 150 different countries.
I'm sending you to work on the new branch line, Thomas. Maybe that'll help you think about being a little less cheeky.
It had a major reboot when Mattel bought the franchise more than a decade ago. New animated episodes were made with new characters, many of them female for the first time.
It's almost like a little enchanted forest. Oh, the kind of place you'd find fairies and elves and magical creatures.
Marion the Railway Steam Shovel was voiced by Oscar winner Olivia Colman.
Oh, hello there. You must be Annie and Clarabelle.
Ryan voiced by another Oscar winner, Eddie Redmayne.
My name is Ryan, and I'll be your engine today.
Down a mine, is he? Ho, 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 laughed Gordon. What a jokey chortle, puffing to the rescue.
Back in the pilot episode, Thomas is about to be rescued by Gordon, the engine he was so rude to at the beginning.
Heave, called the Fat Controller.
There is a moment of jeopardy, but Thomas is finally rescued and lessons are learned.
I'm sorry I was cheeky, said Thomas. That's all right, Thomas, you made me laugh.
80 years on from the publication of the original books, the release of the pilot episode is a nostalgic reminder of simpler times.
United we stand, together we fall, said Gordon grandly. And buffer to buffer the Allies puffed home.
Graham Satchell, BBC News.
So, here in the studio, Mark Chambers, whose grandfather wrote the original Thomas the Tank Engine books. Ian McCue is producer of Thomas Adventures on TV. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you very much.
Mark, for you, all of this is very personal, isn't it? Going right back. Take us to a place in time, your grandfather reading these stories to you.
Yes, indeed. I have memories going back to very early days. I would think probably 5 years old, and him coming to stay with us at the family home in Devon. Can't remember the specific stories he would have read me, but he would bring out one of the volumes of stories that he'd written, and yes, it was a wonderful thing to have those stories read to me by him.
And we're seeing a picture of him now. The stories obviously were already published at that point. They were already in the public
absolutely.
domain.
By the time I was born, he'd completed all 26 books that he wrote initially, and then the TV series and everything that came after that was about a decade in the future. I'm
going to ask the obvious question, but at age 5, you probably can't remember. Was he a good storyteller? I mean, I know he's written books that people have loved for generations.
Yeah, no.
But do you remember his voice? Could he deliver it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Not too many accents, but there was certainly emotion in the voice, and yes, it was a very special experience even at that age.
Ian, I think you have to... I'm quite interested to hear what you might have thought about when you first saw it, because your grandfather had been reading the stories to you. But you have to be very careful with how you take something like Thomas the Tank Engine, which so many people, like you were saying, you watched early and you had the books and everything.
Yeah.
When people's imaginations kind of go a certain way, you have to be very careful with it, don't you?
I think we have to remember where the story started from, and it really started from that love of trains. And I think the nice thing in today, people still love trains. Children still love trains. I go to my local train station and kids get excited, even though it's a modern electric train coming in, you know. I think people's love of trains, and I think whatever we do with the show, you know, because it evolves over the years, we always remember those sort of timeless stories and the good themes and messages behind them, friendship and teamwork, and you know, that's why we're celebrating 80 years of Thomas. It's still going strong to this day.
And there have been some remarkable voices attributed to Thomas the Tank Engine. Someone's just messaged in saying, I was a fan of the Thomas the Tank Engine books, grew up listening to Willie Rushton.
Yes.
There's a blast, you know, reading the books, and he's got the full vinyl LPs now as well, with all of those.
Very collectible. I mean, Willie Rushton, Johnny Morris did a lot of reads long before the TV series, and then obviously with the TV series Ringo Starr, you know, you don't get much bigger than Ringo.
Well, do you want to explain, because I don't know, how did that first come about? You know, did someone just have the idea of going, why not Ringo Starr? Is there a story attached to
Well,
this?
the story, as I understand it, is Britt Allcroft, who was the lady who got the rights to make the TV series from the late 70s, decided she wanted a narrator rather than the engines having their individual voices, but couldn't decide who that narrator should be. And apparently was in the family home one night, walking past the living room where Parkinson was being broadcast and Ringo was being interviewed, heard the voice, didn't realise who it was who was actually speaking, went in, saw, of course, it was Ringo, and just, that was it. Said, that's who I want as the voice of the series.
And clearly, I mean, he wanted to do it because he ended up doing it. So he obviously, maybe he read the stories himself to his own children or whatever. There was clearly an affection there.
All I know is he said that he didn't have the stories read to him as a child, which my grandfather said he had, therefore a neglected childhood.
Okay.
Which sounds very much him. Yeah, he then certainly went back and read the stories and was very complimentary about them. And yeah, clearly was interested enough that he was prepared to be involved, which is a lovely thing, because that's become, in its own way, very much as iconic as the stories, Ringo's narration.
So true, isn't it? Because his voice on that series, I mean, it makes it very different, doesn't it? In the best possible way.
Mm. I think a lot of people still think that Ringo narrates it today. I think it's become such an iconic voice that is attached to Thomas, but he only did the first two series. You know, so obviously after that, Michael Angelis came in, who was sort of classic sort of Liverpudlian actor, who had a very similar tone and voice to Ringo, and did a fantastic job of sort of carrying on that legacy of great storytelling.
Mm.
It's amazing how far it's spread across the world in terms of fan base as well. Because I think of it as quintessentially British.
Oh, it is.
But,
yeah.
But it is known all around the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Japan, huge, isn't it?
Yes,
huge in Japan.
Huge in Japan. Yes, I mean, at its core, I think you're right. It is very much British, set in a golden age of the sort of 1940s and 50s on this mythical island, and yet there's something there that appeals to children, generations of children on a global basis, and it's astonishing and wonderful.
We love a story about trains. We also love a story of discovery. And this bit of reel of tape here.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
This is so there was a discovery made. There was a kind of forgotten episode. We love stories like that.
In 1983, so Britt Allcroft, as we'd mentioned, unfortunately Britt passed away last year, but she had gone to sort of Clearwater Films to create the first Thomas series, and they shot a test pilot to really sort of iron out all the kinks and stuff of how they were going to create the show. That was done. They created the first season. Thomas became sort of the huge show that everyone knows and loves, but the pilot was never seen again. And a couple of years ago, we sort of stumbled across some sort of archive footage and stuff that was in the Mattel archives, and we pulled it out to find out that this was, you know, the film cans of the pilot. We opened it up. I would have loved for it to have been the complete film, ready to go, but it wasn't. It was film trims. There were elastic bands wrapped around, and it was in a poor condition. You know, we had to do a lot of work restoring it. Not only that, this particular can that we've got with us contains some of Ringo Starr's very first voice recording back in 1983 for the pilot. So put that all together with the sound effects we also found. The one thing that was missing was music. So I sort of decided I didn't want to bring in any old composer to just put some music on the pilot. So we actually reached out to Mike O'Donnell, who was one of the original co-composers, you know, the classic theme that everyone knows and loves. And Mike was only too happy to come in and give us a really nice bespoke score, and it really just came together really well. We're very proud.
Well, a lot of people will be very happy that there's more and you've discovered more. So lovely to meet you this morning. Thank you very much.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Joy, thank you. It's nice to have a bit of nostalgia.
No, it is. It is. Straight away, I'm kind of going back into the stories. Very magical. Very magical. I was books, though. For me, it was books, not the animated show. No offence.
Oh, no.
Time now to get the